Right, let's talk about the price mechanism. Price mechanism for allocation of resources. So I already mentioned this before when I was talking about it's almost as though consumers and producers can compete with each other and bargain with the other when they are trying to work out where they should trade at, what price they should trade at in a market. And so because producers are competing, they can keep offering lower prices and more quantity to the buyers, the people with their demand here. And because buyers are competing with each other, they can offer the higher price than the next guy and offer to buy more. And they can keep doing that until they reach their limit, as it were, until they reach the point at which, hey, okay, we're not going to actually carry on paying more for more after this point if we're consumers, because that's higher than our demand. We don't want that much. Or in the case of the seller, they're not going to keep offering more for less because at that point it would be lower than their supply. So this is equilibrium. What's the importance of prices in this? Well, because a market will settle like this, assuming that it's a competitive market, assuming that it's reasonably easy for people to actually kind of communicate in this way, that prices and quantities can adjust very nicely for constraints of supply and demand curves, then hopefully we should get here. But how did we get here? We got here because let's say that we were trading down here. Well, people were buying more and they were buying loads, and the company was struggling to produce as much as people wanted. There's excess demand at this price. People want loads more. And so what happened was the company would slightly increase the price and increase the quantity that it's producing. And it would move up, and it would keep moving up until it gets to this point. Now, what if the company was trying to sell out here? Well, then it realizes that people aren't buying at that price, and it needs to start lowering the price and lowering the quantity that it produces until it reaches here. So the price that the customers are willing to pay is going to be a way of communicating to the producers what they should try to actually sell at and how much they should try to sell it at any given price. And likewise, in terms of like that, how much people actually value it and are willing to give up for it. And likewise, obviously the demanders, the consumers, the customers would love to be buying out here, but the fact that there are limits to the prices that producers are willing to sell at different quantities means that that also works as a way of sort of communicating to the customer, hey, there are actually these costs of doing this thing. And so, no, you can't have infinite things for very little money. Sorry, it costs stuff for us to produce it. So you're going to have to put up with less. If you're going along trying to buy loads at that price, you're going to quickly discover that you're going to have to accept a higher price for less, for example. And so prices work as information. They sort of tell the consumer, hey, there are costs to making things. You need to consider this involved. And they tell the supplier, well, like, how much are people actually willing to give up for this thing? How much do people really value it? So it's a way of allocating information. It's a way of allocating information at the local level. How much will any local market face as costs and as demands, or at the national level or at the global level? If people are trading between countries and we're working out how much do we want to import of something from Nigeria, that's also going to be decided on the prices that the producers out there are going to be willing to sell at, and the prices that we're willing to pay. So it really it's a really cool information mechanism that tells people how much they're actually willing to give up things and how much things actually cost, which central planning can't really do. Because even if governments were amazing at working out how to make things. That doesn't automatically tell them how much people value things. Whereas bringing in demand curves and markets into this means that we can discover, well, how much people are willing to give up for it. That may not perfectly reflect the real benefit that they get from it, but it does at least tell us how they vote with their wallets, as it were, how much they're willing to pay, stroke, give up for it. So it helps in terms of like rationing resources. That's really cool. That's like allocation of resources, rationing. That's one aspect of price mechanism. We're also going to talk about incentives next video.